The next one is, let's get to the New Testament, Matthew 25. This is number 7. Doesn't matter whether we get through all these or not. They're online at our website. But Matthew 25:44 is the 7th spiritual quality. I call it graciousness. And it says this: they also will answer him, saying, Lord, when did we see you hungry or thirsty or a stranger or naked or sick or in prison and didn't minister you? And verse 45 of Matthew 25, Jesus says this: then he, that's Jesus, will answer and say, assuredly I say to you, inasmuch as you did it to one of the least of these. What? You did it to me. Or you didn't do it to me. What's a gracious person? While I lived at home, here's a test. I learned to greet my parents' friends with courtesy and respect and tried to make them glad they came. I go to a lot of homes. Bonnie and I, we visited, I think, almost 200 families in our church. I mean, I go out to eat with a different man at his work. I constantly am trying to get to know more and more of the men. And we go to families. We used to go to 2 or 3 a week and then 1 a week. And we just visit homes. And you know what? I get in those homes and I look down at those little lives, and those little kids look up at me, and some of them go, you know, I'm taking them away from Nintendo or Sega or whatever the latest, you know, video thing is, or their parents made them sit at the meal instead of running off and watching TV or movies or whatever, and they look at me and they're just, you know, why did you come? You know, no matter what the parents' smile to me is, I know what their attitude is, because kids learn that. They learn that people are interruptions. They learn that people are a bother. They learn to not be gracious. You know, it's so sweet. I don't know. Let's see. There they are, right there. The nice people that are in the campsite next to us. I think I had to come in and out of the campsite about 4 times last night. When I opened the door with my 2-year-old on my lap, as soon as I opened the door, she went, hi, 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 to the people sitting around the fire next to us. Where do you think a 2-year-old learns hi, hi, hi? She learns it from friendly parents. Where does a 6-year-old learn when you come and visit them and they wrinkle their face up at you? Where do they learn that? From parents who think other people are interruption to their busy lives. You know, I have a little thing. I say it every time to constantly, I might have said it to some of you, I say people are never an interruption. People are never an interruption. People that come into your life, no matter at the most inopportune time, are divine appointments from God, and we should have a gracious response to them. Are you cultivating graciousness in your life, young people? Do you treat people as if it's Jesus Christ in a different shape and form? We entertain angels unawares. Jesus still comes inspecting his church. Have you ever treated him like dirt and not had the spiritual fruitfulness of graciousness? That's something we should work on. Romans 12:9, and we will get just a couple more done before we go. Romans 12:9. Let me read to you this idea about having a lovingness, and that's the next spiritual quality we're talking about, lovingness. Romans 12:9, Eugene Peterson translates this passage this way: love from the center of who you are. Don't fake it. Run for dear life from evil. Hold on for dear life to good. Be good friends who love deeply. Practice playing second fiddle. Now, remember, the Living Bible and the Message are not translations. They're a paraphrase, dynamic. They're actually like a sermon on the Bible. So if you want to have a personal sermon on any passage of the Bible, Eugene Peterson's The Message, which is a paraphrase of the Bible, and Ken Taylor's best-selling Living Bible are both sermons on every verse of the Bible. They're not translations. And they clearly say that. There's not a word-for-word correspondence. But listen to that. Isn't that a sermon on how we're to love? Don't quit in hard times. Pray all the harder. Help needy Christians. Be cheerfully expectant. Don't do anything but bless your enemies. Don't curse under your breath. Laugh when you're happy, friends. When your friends are happy. Share tears when they're down. Get along with everyone. Don't be stuck up. Make friends with nobodies. Are you teaching your kids to love? I mentioned 2 nights ago, I remember my parents ministering to the down and outers at the Lansing City Rescue Mission. I remember how we would go and we would help them get started in their first apartment. And my parents would rent it, and they would buy them furniture, and they would invite them and pick them up and take them to our house, and they made friends with nobodies. Do you make friends with nobodies? When we lived in a 2-bedroom house, 5 of us, we used to always be the family that volunteered to have the missionaries over. Do you know how many times I slept on the floor? Joyfully. Slept on the floor before they had carpet. Carpet is a new invention too. We had linoleum or tile. And I'd sleep on the floor while the missionary snored in my bed. What is that? That is loving. How do we teach that to our children? While living with my parents at home, I need to learn to call you by affectionate titles like Mom and Dad. I won't let the other kids pressure me into calling you nothing or calling you something disrespectful, as though true affections were embarrassing or childish. Love is a learned thing too. We have to cultivate love. And if a father loves his wife in front of the children learn affection. If a father loves his sons and daughters, and then if a father goes beyond that and begins to love the nobodies and the unlovable, the children learn it. And if you never allow your children to be embarrassed of you. I remember when I pastored in New England, there was this big 6'4" URI, University of Rhode Island fundraiser, raised $125 million of endowments for the school. He was a gregarious, wonderful guy. He had 4 6'4" sons, and they were late 20s and 30s. And every Sunday they'd all come into church, and they lived all over Rhode Island. And they'd come into church, and he would stand there, and every one of those 30-year-old 6'4" men would come up and hug and kiss their dad and say, "Daddy," or "Dad, I love you." Do you think he taught them that when they were 25? He modeled, he was an alcoholic, by the way, and an unkind to his wife man before he met Jesus Christ. So he didn't start perfectly, and he didn't have a perfect home, but when he got saved, he began letting love flow out of him, and it flows through his family. And every one of those 4 boys are dynamos for Jesus Christ in the business world today. Loving home. Teach it.